As humans, we are all made up of our own unique DNA that is found within the nucleus of each of our cells. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it is the universal language for life. DNA structure is referred to as a double helix and basically looks like a spiral ladder. The outer strands of the DNA are made up of sugar and phosphate molecules, and the connecting rungs are made up of nitrogenous bases. These bases are the four basic building blocks of DNA. They are thymine, adenine, guanine, and cytosine, referred to as T, A, G, and C respectively. In our DNA, each base has a complementary base pair it is always matched with. The first pair is T and A, and the second pair is G and C. There are approximately 3 billion of these pairs in your DNA, each in a unique order making you an individual. To understand DNA as best as possible, a group of scientists came together in 1990 to begin a decade-long process of mapping out the entire genetic makeup of DNA. This project was called the Human Genome Project. Once completed, the human genome gave a specific map of where, on a strand of DNA, each trait can be located. Physical traits like eye color or estimated height, personality traits like being an extrovert or an introvert, as well as disorders like the gene coding for breast cancer or autism. Although your DNA does provide instructions for all your cells, it is not the only factor that decides exactly who you are. The three primary categories that combine to form you is nature, nurture, and epigenetics. Nature refers to your DNA and how it codes for looks such as hair color or other genetic-related traits such as genetic disorders like Down syndrome. Nurture refers to your physical environment and its effects. This can be physical things like a scar from falling as a kid, or diseases like developing lung cancer from smoking. The last section, known as epigenetics, is the study that in your DNA, certain parts can be turned on or off as a result of impactful moments. For example, your DNA can code you as a very optimistic person. However, if you grow up surrounded by people who are pessimists, there is a chance your DNA will shut off your optimistic trait, resulting in you becoming similar to those around you. Now, with this basic knowledge of DNA, we can ask tough questions like, ever wonder if criminals could blame their violent actions on DNA? Although this may sound crazy, it has actually been done before. The first successful scenario was in 2009 in the Bradley Waldrop case. He was convicted of murder but escaped the death penalty after his lawyer proved in court that he carried the warrior gene. To better understand this, we first have to look at what the warrior gene is. To begin, at birth we are assigned a gender. If male, you have chromosomes XY, and if female, you have XX. The gene monoamine oxidase A, referred to as MAOA, is located on the X chromosome in one's DNA. This gene allows for neurotransmitters in the brain, like dopamine and serotonin, to be broken down, allowing for clear judgment and reasoning. However, a person can have a deficiency of monoamine oxidase A, which is referred to as MAOAL, or even better known as the warrior gene. A deficiency in this gene creates a buildup of neurotransmitters and results in a clouded judgment and large outbursts of aggression. To be classified as a person with a deficiency, your MAOA gene must be repeated 3 times or less in your entire DNA. Now, the warrior gene can be a direct link to outbursts of anger and violence, and that is why it has been used as an attempted defense in courts. However, it has never fully been successful, and here's why. Since MAOAL is a genetic trait, studies have proven that there is more than 30% of our world population who most likely carry it. However, not all these people are violent. This is because, as shown earlier, we are more than our genetic makeup. We are a combination of nature, nurture, and epigenetics. It is a combination of all three that lead to outbursts of anger. It just happens that the warrior gene can heighten your odds. This is why in cases like Waldrop's, he was able to avoid the death penalty, but still had to serve more than 30 years in prison for his crime. His DNA was able to help him a bit, but it cannot be a complete answer for his violent actions. Personally, I think this is a very fair judgment. People have no control over how their DNA codes them, but they still have control over their actions. Despite possibly containing the warrior gene, it doesn't mean that that person is bound to be an aggressive person. This is why criminals can try to blame their violence on DNA, but it will only assist to a certain point.